Suppose you're wondering whether to play the following game. 100 tickets are in a machine. 99 of the tickets are winning tickets. If you draw a winning ticket, you win $5. There's one losing ticket, and if you draw it, you lose $1,000. Assuming that the probability of drawing any specific ticket is 1 in 100, and thinking just in terms of monetary value, would it be rational to play this game? I think most people will see immediately that this is not a game worth playing. But why is this game not worth playing? After all, it's more likely that you'll gain $5 than that you'll lose $1,000. Well, despite this, we recognize that it's a mistake to disregard the small probability here. Because in fact, the small probability of losing $1,000 outweighs the greater probability of winning $5. More precisely, a 1 in 100 chance of losing $1,000 outweighs a 99 in 100 chance of winning $5. Notice that we can express this in another way, namely, an actual loss of $1,000 one time outweighs an actual gain of $5 99 times. Minus $1,000 once is minus $1,000, plus $5 99 times is only plus $495. So we can see the numbers are not in your favor. What I want to emphasize here is that we can move from the probability of certain outcomes to an actual, if you like, playing out of those outcomes, and vice versa in this way. And this is going to be important in what follows. The philosopher R.B. Perry once wrote that the happiness of a million somehow fails utterly to compensate or even to mitigate the torture of one. What I'm going to take Perry to mean is something like this. One extremely bad life outweighs a million good lives. There are certainly some who would deny Perry's claim, or what I'm attributing to Perry, but my guess is that most wouldn't. Consider this. Would it be wrong to create a million lives, knowing in advance that one in that million will be tortured to death? So all the other lives will, let's assume, be good lives. I think most people, even though the good lives one will be creating would greatly outnumber the horrible life, would find this nevertheless wrong. We shouldn't do it. I'm going to work then with the assumption that this is a common view. The thought here is fairly straightforward. If it is wrong to create a million good lives, with the exception of one that we know will be extremely bad, according to what we've already said, we should also think that it's wrong to create a single life for which there is even a 1 in a million chance that it will be extremely bad. And as we cannot, I think, reasonably deny that there is at least a 1 in a million chance that any being we cause to exist will live a horrible life, we cannot justify taking this risk, just as we cannot justify creating a million lives, one of which will be a horrible life. So I say it's wrong to cause individuals to exist. Now, it might be objected that being sensitive to small probabilities in this way would just lead to paralysis. Because we can say that for any act, there's some chance that that act will causally lead to someone's horrible suffering. Suppose I stop to talk to a stranger. It might be argued that this could result, by affecting the timing of various future events, could result in the stranger later getting run over by a car, resulting in their slow and painful death, which, had I not stopped to talk, would have been avoided. Of course, the point is not that this is a likely consequence of my act, but just that it's a possible consequence of my act. And since this will be an extremely bad outcome, we should never stop to talk to strangers. The risk is too great. But I think this is a mistake, and here's why I think it's a mistake. There's no reason why we should think that stopping to talk to a stranger, sort of randomly, will result in that stranger getting seriously hurt any more than that not stopping to talk to them will have this effect. That is, stopping to talk may, for all we know, make it less likely that the stranger gets hurt in some unforeseeable way rather than more likely. And since we have no special reason or evidence to favor one possibility over the other, these possibilities would just, I think, cancel out. This is not true in the case of causing a being to exist. If we do not cause the being in question to exist, they will not suffer anything horrible, whereas if we do, they might. So, not only does not creating a being make it less likely for the being in question to suffer something horrible, it ensures that they won't. They won't exist. So, small probabilities can matter, but they can only play a role in pushing us toward choosing certain actions over alternative actions if we have some reason to favor those actions over the others. Now, I should say that I don't think this kind of argument about risk is needed to argue convincingly for antinatalism. My view, and the view of others as well, is that causing someone to exist is in one sense much worse than a risk. This is because I think basically all lives are, on balance, bad. Rather, what I think is that pessimistic arguments are alone sufficient to get us to the antinatalist conclusion, but so too are risk arguments. And that's to say, there may be several independently sufficient reasons for accepting antinatalism. And this leads me to think that the view that procreation is wrong may be, as philosophers often like to say about certain positions, overdetermined.